Guys, the story I'm about to tell, it's worse than, in my books, it's actually worse than anything a Yoruba demon will do to you. You know, them Nigerian men, them Yoruba demons. Um, this is worse. And the more I just go back to in time, the more I just want to be like, gosh, that was hard. That was a really hard time for me. But anyway, this is story time on my YouTube channel, and I want to share more. I want to be more open about my personal experiences and what I term my private life on my YouTube channel. So, this is a new month, this is a new quarter, and I'll just be doing story time for the next few weeks. Okay, so let me just get into it. Welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. Nice to see you too. Without further ado, I'll just get into this story. So, December last year, 2022, was actually a very difficult time for me because it was the first time I experienced that full winter in the UK. You know, that time when we go from fall or autumn, as we call it here, to winter, and everything just goes dark and everything is just really grim except for like lights you see in Christmas, and that just like affected me in addition to like some health challenges I had, all of that. I was just really feeling sad, depressed, and I had my driving test coming up as well. I had lots of anxiety I was dealing with. So it took me a while to actually figure out like what I was going through or why I felt the way I felt. I just like blocked everyone out for the moment, and it took me a while to understand why little things were like getting to me, why I didn't want to go out, why I didn't want to see anyone. It took me a while to realize it, but anyway, you know, they say in every cloud there's a silver lining. Not to add the fact that the clouds are actually proper dark here in the UK, like it usually is at that time of the year. So I had my silver lining, and my silver lining was I was going to travel to Egypt in January. So while I was preparing for, say, my driving test and all of that, and the weather was beating my ass, I still had to wake up every day, go to work in the cold, it wasn't much the cold, fine. It was very cold and not nice. Well, it was that darkness that was really affecting me. It was affecting everything. I was just pushing through, and I think in December I just really got like burned out. I couldn't deal with everything again, and I was almost breaking down. And okay, fine. I had this trip to look forward to, going to Egypt and all of that, and I planned this trip since like September or October. So, and I was to go in January. So I just like, okay, I can't wait for January. The big thing about Egypt for me was, oh, it's Africa, right? It's going to be bright, it's going to be sunny, and I could just get away from this horrible weather, etc. And I'll just feel better. I'll be on holiday because it had been a long year. I'd moved to the UK throughout last year. If you follow my YouTube channel, you see I'm always trying to do this, do that with my job, trying to learn more, trying to. I mean, I just needed that break after a year. So for me, it was a way to like get out and feel great in myself. So I was really looking forward to this trip. So yeah, I planned it in like September, October, right? So yeah, I knew I was going from then. Shout out to Menza, my friend. She's always traveling. She suggested Egypt to me. She showed me nice pictures. I was like, definitely going there. So yeah, prepared for this trip. And while I was preparing for my driving test, everything like that, I was just like, Egypt, Egypt, Egypt. You know, right after this, that would be the next thing. I was very excited and all of that. So I packed, I did everything. I already made up my mind like, oh wow, January, I'm going to shoot travel vlogs, going to Egypt, all of that. But after my driving test, I was just really tired. I was like, you know what, when I get on the trip, I'm going to start vlogging, all of that. If you've seen my Morocco vlog, you know what I'm talking about. But I was sort of, even on that Morocco trip, I was sort of like just getting over that heartbreak. So I don't know, I just did what I could because I just wanted to rest at that time. I know personally some people when they're going through stuff, they show the rest of the world they're out there, they're doing stuff. But for me, I just want to retreat and be with myself. I want to lock myself up in my room. I'm not crying or anything, but that's how I sort of preserve my strength. So that was what I was gonna do, right? So I planned for this trip, did a lot of shopping. Ah, gosh, pretty little thing, fancy beauty, you know, because my makeup had finished, I had to restocked. So this trip was like, I didn't have like from Nigeria, you know, when you're moving countries, you only pack what's important to you. So I only packed like things that were extremely important to me. But I didn't have like lots of swimsuits and all that. So Pretty Little Thing knew my name around that time because I spent a lot of money shopping for this, for that. I did my hair, etc. and all that. And even in my driving test video, I'll show you that video. I was just like trying to push through everything and I was smiling. I was happy that I passed my test, but honestly, it always got dark at 4 p.m. I wasn't used to this. I'm from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, so it's always summer all year round for us. So I wasn't honestly used to this. So I had to manage by 4 p.m. lights are going out. Like it's got really dark. I got back from work. I went to work in the dark. I came back in the dark. I know people live in UK. It's not a big deal for them, but that change was huge for me. Anyway, so I packed and I went on the trip. So guys, I got to the airport on that fateful day. Getting out of this cold weather. I can remember it was very cold on the way to Bristol airport from Exeter. Very, very cold, very grim. I was like, don't, in the next few hours, I'm out of here. I think it's only 4 hours flight, 5, thereabout, not so long. So, but in next, I'm out of this place. So I was very looking forward to that. I was like, yes, this is it. You know, like that was it for me. So I got to the airport and checking in my baggage and all of that. They're like, oh, system brought out a visa is required for this trip. So the lady took me aside to the other side of their stand and like to check in with as opposed to using a computer, actually checking in with someone that was at the help desk in the airport. So I went there to the flight attendant, or not the flight attendant, no, lady at the help desk, and I was like, okay, yeah, to check in, blah blah blah. She's like, oh, sorry, you need a visa for this trip. I was like, no, I don't need a visa for this trip because if I'm a Nigerian with a UK visa, I can go to Egypt and get visa on arrival. Oh my god, talking about this is just taking me back to time. I feel like personally when I go through stuff, I do not like to talk about it. I just retreat and stay in myself till I feel better, and sharing it is just like hard, but it's easier now that it's over. So oh my god. So anyway, I told this lady, I was like, what are you talking about? I'm a Nigerian with a UK visa. I showed her everything. I brought out my British resident permit. I showed her everything, and she was just like, no, you can't travel, you need a visa. And I was like, look, Nigerians have been going to Egypt and getting this on arrival. What are you on about? Like, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. I showed that and she was like, oh, that it has to be from a recognized government website, whatever I'm showing her, before they will let me go. I went to gov.uk. But again, gov.uk, I think it's amazing. But I don't know if you're not a UK citizen, I believe like some of the things that would be there would not, you know, exactly relate to you, because like it relates to lots of residents in the UK, but especially UK citizens, especially when it comes to traveling and all that. I'm a Nigerian citizen obviously, so I need to know like what the requirements for traveling in from Nigeria to Egypt, or as a Nigerian going to Egypt to be. But I've seen people, and I've seen many blogs and travel blogs talking about traveling from the UK to Egypt, or traveling, saying like, oh, these are the number of countries you can travel to as a UK visa holder and get visa on arrival, or no visa. And Egypt was one, and there are many other countries on that list. So I felt like, yeah, I'm even a Nigerian that has the UK visa and also has a UK resident permit, so I should be fine. That's what I thought. But these ladies were like, no. And I was trying to explain that, you know what, gov.uk may not exactly write things that applies to me, because in the end, I'm a Nigerian citizen, right? I just live in the UK. So they're like, no, I need to show government websites. So I was trying to pull up stuff from Egypt's government's tourism websites. Nothing was helpful. Nothing was helpful. I kid you not, like I was checking government website. There wasn't anything straightforward. They just said, I think they wrote 195 country nationals can now travel to Egypt and get visa on arrival, but there was no lists Do you know what I mean? There was no list. It said countries like UK, US, maybe, I don't know if China was there. Like they mentioned like 3 or 4 countries and 195 countries, but they didn't. There was not a list of those countries there, so I couldn't prove anything. I could just say, oh, my friends had traveled, blah 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 blah, and then I went to those blogs and I saw it there again, Egypt, but they're like, no, that's not a recognized website. We can't let you go still. I was like, oh my god. I started calling the people, trying to reach out to the people on whose blogs I had seen it, and then they started telling me that they traveled from Nigeria to Egypt and not from the UK or US. But the thing is, they had a UK visa or they had a US visa while traveling to, like, a valid one. Do you know what I mean? You know, when they give you like 6 months visa, so it's still valid. So they were using that to go to Egypt. And then I spoke to someone else and she was saying that, oh, like they traveled in a group. If you're in a group of 5, then you can go easily. I was like, why are there not all these caveats on those blogs? But in the end, you can't blame people for your own circumstances, right? So I was trying to reach out to say, because everything for this trip I've been paid for, all inclusive, very expensive trip, guys. So although maybe I got a bit of discount because like planned it earlier, so everything like that was going on and I was just like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? So I kept calling people, trying to reach out to people. Some people were in Nigeria, some people were on those kind of people that vlog, they were on trips themselves, so there was no one to really respond to me. And it was a Saturday. I was trying to call the Nigerian embassy in England to sort of ask, do you know what I mean, like if it comes from Nigerian embassy in England, they'll probably be able to like listen, because to them that'll be a more verifiable source. So I tried my best to call Nigerian embassy and they're like, oh, it's the weekend, no one is working, blah blah blah. I was like devastated. I started crying in the airport, and at some point I kept going back to them and showing them stuff. They're like, oh, this is not verified, this is not verified. And at some point it felt like I was bugging them. I mean, now it's easy to laugh about it, but it wasn't funny back then. So like I was bugging them. They're like, what are you on about? Like, bring out the verifiable source, or just like, sorry, you can't go. And I kept watching time tick. I think the flight was for 11 a.m. or I needed to start like boarding by 11 a.m. or something. I was checking. There was nothing. I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. That's what I was saying. God. That was all I was saying at that moment, because I was just like flabbergasted. Yeah. That's the word. I was flabbergasted. I didn't know what to do or what to say. And so I kept calling people and all that, and it was the same story of, oh, we didn't actually travel from the UK, we traveled from the US. And the ladies at the help desk, they kept entering my details and they're like, no additional documents required, e.g. visa. And at this point they're getting really mean and like almost like, oh, I'm trying to travel illegally or something. Oh my god. I was like, what the hell? I'd planned this trip for like since September, October. So I mean, like, I would have applied for a visa if I needed to. And then I went back to Egypt's website and they're like, citizens of Nigeria will need to apply for a 12-week apply 12 weeks ahead of time to get like an approval from the Egyptian consulate, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, Nigerians from Nigeria were going to Egypt and getting visa on arrival. So it is just like, why are you saying this but a different thing is happening? And so people are going and vlogging about it and saying, you can actually do this too, since I did it, which I get, I understand. Guys, this was the biggest heartbreak of my life. I never cried. I don't think I've ever cried in public, have I? I cried like at the airports, like people were being nice to me because they knew something was terribly wrong. They're like, oh, I saved this seat for you. Like, people pitied me because it was that bad. Oh my god, it was bad, guys. It was bad. And everything just went, the flights, money, reservations, the all-inclusive food, everything. Until now, I haven't gone to Egypt. Well, I guess it is what it is. I just hope that someone can learn from my situation and not fall into the same trap. if you're a Nigerian living in the UK, always check that whatever people say is in line with what the embassy is saying. Sometimes you do get like advantages because you live in the UK and not in Nigeria. You're able to travel more typically. So that's what I thought. I thought that would apply to me in this situation, because if Nigerians from Nigeria are going, me that I live in the UK, why are you saying I can't go? Like, I wouldn't have expected that. But I mean, in life you can't like control everything, I guess, and shit happens. So yeah, what could I do? It just went. And anyway, I hope someone can learn from my situation, because I definitely learned from that. And personally, traveling now, I do not leave any stones unturned. I make sure I actually check. I check the website of the embassy. I call if need be, if I'm not sure about what's happening, to make sure that I am getting the right information. I'm not going with what blogs are saying anymore, because this is the UK. Things are tighter here. They don't joke with like due processes. I don't know if those going from Nigeria, maybe there was a way to like walk around things, but here in the UK they say it's red, it's red. If it's blue, it is most likely very, very blue. Well, if they say it's royal blue, trust me, it's probably not sky blue. So I guess it is what it is. I learned my lesson from that situation, and going forward I left no stones unturned. And it also left me with like a bit of PTSD. When I was traveling to Morocco, in spite of the fact that I was holding my visa until I entered Morocco, I had that last minute, like that 1%, what if this is like a fake visa? What if I've been scammed? What if this is not real? Guys, like it was tough, and I had to come back to the UK, back into the cold that I was running away from. I had to go to work the next Monday, because I realized, look, it's not what it is not what wasting my annual leave, since I'm not traveling in the end. So I went to work the next Monday. It was a Saturday. By the way, if you asking if I didn't call the Egypt embassy, it was a Saturday, so there was nothing to do. There was nothing I could do actually about that. I tried to call the Egyptian embassy. Numbers are not like going through. It was the weekend, blah blah blah. This is my story, guys. So I went on Monday. I went to work. My colleagues were shocked to see me, like, what happened? And then I had to relive that experience by telling everyone what actually happened to me. And I'm reliving that experience again, but it's been like almost like 2 months, or so, almost 3 months. So I guess I kind of feel better about it. I can share more, but in that moment, like, just sharing my colleagues, like, I felt so helpless at that point. Just like there was nothing I could do. So I just shared it with them, and they're like, oh, sorry. I hate being in those kind of situations where people are just like, oh, sorry, and they're sincere. And none of my colleagues even bought me like biscuits. She was really nice to me, just trying to do anything to make me like happy that week. Luckily, one of my patients that started feeling better that week sent chocolates to me. So I mean, that was nice, but I mean, it's nothing compared to be on an all-inclusive, all-expense paid trip to Egypt. So guys, it was tough, and that PTSD lasted, and I can't say I've fully gotten over it now. And even though traveling, I have travel plans, and maybe I have visas to some places, I'm like, will this really, pan out well? Would there be any last minute hiccups? That PTSD is still there. I'm not going to lie to you, but yeah, I went back. I continued working. It was like the most horrible week ever, because the cold got worse that week, and it was still very dark that week. I just wanted to like cry. I cried, in fact, but I just felt helpless. You just had to like submit to the process, I guess. And I started looking forward to the future and just planning more trips, because I just needed to get over that, and I just knew I needed to get out of that dark weather. And I think that's why I was in Morocco. By the way, I'm going to leave the link to my Morocco vlog up there. When I was in Agadir, Morocco, I just like tuned out from the rest of the world. I wasn't like, because I was finally like free. I was finally in a brighter place, and I'm happy about the weather now in the UK, because it's spring and it's always bright, and I like it. So yeah, I'm generally happier now compared to back then. So yeah, that's my story, guys. And if you want to travel as a Nigerian in the UK to Egypt or maybe any other European countries or in the US, make sure you check if the requirements are different. Apart from Egypt, check other places. I think most of the time you probably have an advantage because you live in these first world countries, but at the same time, just make sure you check and just make sure like you are very 100% sure so you don't have or you don't fall into the trap I fell into, so you don't end up in my own kind of situation. You really want to avoid that. Trust me, you don't want that to be you. Guys, so yeah, I think maybe next I'm going to just explain how I got my Moroccan visa, see if it helps anyone. If you have experienced something like this before or you know better about traveling as a Nigerian in the UK or European country or US to Egypt, definitely leave a comment below because till now it's kind of like in my head. So just leave a comment and definitely share this with someone that is looking to go to Egypt from UK or US so it's helpful to them. Thank you for tuning in today, and this is the first of my story time series. Stay tuned for more. There's going to be more spicy, more juicy stories, okay? Guys, I kid you not, this was the biggest heartbreak of my life, so I'm not joking. Just believe it or not, this is worse than whatever any Yoruba demon would ever do to you. I stand by my words, okay? I really stand by my words. Yeah. Let me breathe. Anyway, with that, I've come to the end of this episode and looking forward to seeing you in my next story time. Bye. Goodbye.